Well, we are live. Thanks everyone for joining us for another community committee meeting. This is for April 30th, 2020. Let's get started. Do we have any initiative updates? Oh, I guess a quick thing before that. Let's make sure to add yourself. I'm trying to get back to the issue. Make sure to add yourself to the doc if you are present. I will get that for us one moment.
I gotcha.
Cool, thank you. I realized I have GitHub in like the desktop PWA thing, and I'm trying to do a bunch of different links, which doesn't really work well as a desktop PWA. So I'm just switching back to not desktop PWA mode. It does not work good for that use case. Okay, cool. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, so if you could, I hate that they made it so you can't click links. Yeah, if you could add yourself there, and then of course help chip in with minutes if possible. Let's see here. Oh. Cool. So initiative updates. Do we want to get started with that?
Sure. So I'll go first. On mentorship, we migrate. Oh, sorry, David is here. I'll let him do it.
Hello, David. You are muted if you're talking.
Sorry. Yeah, I was trying to find a unmute button. No, Salo, go for it.
We migrated to OpenJS Slack channel. Now we have Nodejs Mentorship team, Nodejs Mentorship, and mentorship examples as Slack channels. Two of them are private for the private discussion, and the Nodejs Mentorship is public. And we already made announcement on the previous Nodejs Slack channel mentorship to everyone involved, and I think everyone should migrate to OpenJS also. Oh, one more thing, I just opened the PR to public to change the champion to David Gutman on the README.
Cool, and I'll just add one more thing. Tierney and I had a good conversation about examples being a good first initiative for the mentorship team to find someone for. So after the mentorship team does our own I guess dog fooding, and we find someone appropriate for the mentorship team, onboard them, and see how that whole process goes. Examples will be the next initiative. I think that's it.
Awesome. Any other updates from initiatives? I guess I can go. From examples, I don't think we've seen a bunch of progress. I think mostly right now I'm trying to get, rather than focusing on building examples myself, I'm trying to get other people to come help build examples and participate in the initiative. I've worked on, given some feedback that Shelley Vore and Joe gave me. I restructured things slightly to have more of like guardrails in it, and that PR merged, and then Mateo also helped with basically tweaking the CI so it'll be more per project rather than everything and just running whatever changed, or per example. So hopefully that's a little bit more approachable workflow than before, of like go create a new top level category and stuff. So hopefully it's relatively straightforward to begin working on that, and I'm hoping to be able to start working with some of the people who've expressed an interest in contributing an example, and prod some other folks into doing it too. So yeah, that's the examples update. Do we have anything from other initiatives? Okay, that seems like a no. Joe, do you have anything from CPC or otherwise OpenJS Foundation?
Sure. What have we been working on? I have an open PR that clarifies someone if someone wants to become a regular member of the Cross Project Council, clarified some of the requirements that we want around that. So we have an open PR for that if anybody's interested to see. There are a few issues around code of conduct, and our weekly meetings, we've been kind of spinning our wheels, just doing status updates on the agenda. So we recently decided to start trying to do some working sessions in our CPC meeting time slot this week.
To clarify, it's not code of conduct issues, but like,
oh yes,
yeah, it's not like problems with the code of conduct or reports. It's more how do we approach handling this.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. That is important. Yeah, it's around process and some things that we want to be ahead of as a foundation, an umbrella over the other projects. So yeah, anyway, there are a bunch of things that we need to work out. They're kind of more complicated. We're not getting a lot of progress. We decided to do some focused meetings on moving those things forward. We had a good meeting this week, and I expect to have another one next week. And hopefully we can make some progress on some of those things, how we manage code of conduct upstream, and some sort of advisory panel, and a number of things around that. I'm not sure what else there is to share from the CPC and the board at this time. I mean, I guess I can say the OpenJS World event has officially announced that it is going virtual, and it is also free. That's happening June, I think, 23rd and 4th. That whole week is going to be OpenJS stuff. So I believe the Monday is, we have the collaborator summit that we usually add on to the event or have happen around the event. Monday is, I think, going to be a day focused on new contributors to open source projects. And then Tuesday and Wednesday is the conference. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the conference. And then, no, sorry, Thursday and Friday are also the Collab Summit. So Collab Summit, 2 days of the conference, 2 days of Collab Summit. Anyway, you can check on the website to get all the details. I think that's everything.
Cool. I have one more question. Any other updates? Cool. With that, I think this is going to be a shorter meeting. We can move on to the agenda items. So first agenda item, let's see here. I'm not used to looking at it in the Google Doc. I'm going to not continue doing that. First agenda item is Node.js admin, second director seat, creating issues so you can put on TSC ComCom. So basically this is just the Node.js director seat that we had. Please voice any thoughts, opinions, stuff like that on this. It doesn't look like, I don't see any updates in that issue, which we should probably be thinking about. Joe, do you know if there's anything there that we need to be doing?
I think, expressing our thoughts about this, I think that I don't know if it's where exactly this is laid out in the OpenJS or Cross Project Council documentation. But I think the expectation was that Node.js would have its own seat for the first year, and then kind of TBD beyond that.
Wasn't it 2 seats? Like for some reason. Like I think
So-
you, Michael, and Mateo, maybe.
So
Something like that.
Mateo and I are voting members on the Cross Project Council from the Node project, and every impact project can select 2 voting members on the Cross Project Council. But this is specific to the board representation. So
Gotcha.
as it is right now, the community seats, I guess you'd call them, are the one board seat that is elected from the Cross Project Council voting members. And that is currently Chris Borchers. And then Node.js for the first year was able to select elect a board rep, and that is Michael Dawson currently. And then there's a third seat that is kind of earmarked that is related to the individual membership program. And that has kind of gone silent, but I know people have mentioned it recently with the with this conversation about the upcoming board elections and what's going to happen with the Node seat. I think Node folks, from what I've gathered on the TSC side and just general conversations, that they would be happy to have it for another year, but I haven't heard like strong, opinions about it. Like we must have it for another year. I've heard other areas in the foundation, suggest that it should be more of a community seat, that we should try to pull it from, the larger community and not just Node. Which I don't have strong opinions either way. I feel like if it isn't Node specific, then we would have a broader pool and hopefully bring more diversity to the voices in the conversation at the board. So that's kind of the lay of the land. I'm open to hear anybody's input.
There's currently a stage 3 proposal right now for community board representation. Is that what this one deals with, or are we talking about an entirely separate thread?
I will link the one I'm talking about.
Okay,
There you go.
thank you.
I believe that's different.
Yeah, I believe it's different too. There's yeah, so this one, the second director seat, this is the Node.js one. That's currently a Node.js one, right? But there is, let me see if I can find a early conversation about the individual membership. Yeah, which I'm not seeing in here.
So I guess, is this a seat that we have filled in the past? Is this Michael's seat or is this something else?
Michael's seat is the seat that is the question that we're discussing.
Okay.
Michael is the first year, I think, so this is, part of this was born out of Node's, I don't want to use the word reluctance, but perhaps hesitancy to merge the foundations, or at least some folks on the Node side were hesitant. And one of the things that we did to try and accommodate or at least kind of make sure that Node's I don't think influence is the right word, but
voice, I think is the right word.
Thank you, thank you. And the new foundation wasn't like drowned out, and so this was kind of one of the things that we did to ensure that. But I think it's only mentioned for a year, and that it would be TBD beyond that. And so we're in that TBD section now.
So I guess I have 2 questions. One, this wouldn't prevent someone from Node for running. It just, like, Michael could still run or someone else could still run, correct?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay. And then 2, I guess one of the things that I found valuable that I now realize other projects don't necessarily have is having the board member in our meetings, which is incredibly valuable. I don't know how reasonable it is to ask for that, but
yeah,
like being able to have that is something that I'm not necessarily saying like it should walk, but I think that potentially asking to have projects be able to invite this person and have them, hopefully show up
Yep.
would be nice.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, perhaps the CPC representative should or could, carry that torch in the future, bringing both updates from the cross-budget council and anything from the board.
Yeah.
But it is valuable to have someone from the board directly in the meetings.
Yeah.
I support the benefits of having that. I wonder if other projects that probably weren't Node would experience similar benefits if the person who was bringing the updates wasn't actually part of their project, which right now we do have.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that would probably be, I think it'd be a nice expansion to that, is just like, hey, one of the responsibilities is coming to projects meetings, as reasonably as you can. Or like not every one of the 42 meetings monthly in Node, but like, coming to a compound meeting to maybe update, once a month or something. And like same for other projects that would request that, if that makes sense. Or alternatively, having a separate meeting with that person. I don't know. It would be nice to be able to make that, have more direct access to that for everyone rather than just us.
This sounds like if we do have the opportunity, can we ask for this as part of the discussion right now for issue 586, or propose that this be a thing?
Yeah, I think it's issue 438 in the CPC thing. Yeah,
Too many.
No worries. Yes, I think that's a very reasonable thing, and I can, well, unless I would prefer someone else take it, but if someone's willing to take that and comment that in that issue, that'd be awesome. And then if not, I can, but it would be super cool if someone else could.
Yeah, Manil, do you want to, or I could have, of course, as well.
I'm not clear that I have enough insight into the existing discussions to be able to make that proposal, Joe. I was sort of thinking that if you're already involved in the conversation, but if you want to loop me in, I'm cool with that.
And this is just on issue 496 in the admin repo.
438, I thought. We've said four different issues at this point. I'm not sure at this point.
Okay, so issue 496 is the Node.js admin issue.
Got you.
So that is perhaps for specific Node conversations, but the OpenJS Foundation also has an issue.
Yes, it does.
So
so commenting on the Node one, I think is fine.
Yeah.
I'm also removing CC agenda from the label.
Great.
So either Manila or Joe, if you could take it. Joe, if it's something you're more comfortable with, just because you've been involved, it sounds like Manil would prefer someone who's been involved. Again, totally ignore me if that's not the case, Manil.
Yeah, that was a good way to put it. I just don't feel as familiar with regular members right now.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll comment on both issues so that I make sure it's surfaced.
Cool. Awesome. Any other thoughts, feedback, comment, anything like that on that issue? Sounds like a no. Cool. Okay, so next agenda is Nodejs Collection, update the README. Let me see if there's new updates on this. I believe we have Waleed with us.
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool.
So I just couldn't find time to draft this whole process, and I think I won't be able to in next few weeks or months, at least few weeks, I'm not sure. So it would be good if someone else can take it from here, or I can help with what's left here. It's just drafting the whole process, and then managing maybe a little bit of stuff in the Trello board, and then making maybe a public blog post about we have this new process and what's the way. The other option is maybe we could go if we don't have enough time for this. Is what Rich was also suggesting in our comment somewhere, is that we keep this Nodejs collection only for internal announcements, updates, or maybe for the collaborators, rather than keeping it as public and then managing it, because maybe it's too much for us to handle.
Yeah, I
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. I think it. I guess one of the things I have seen is like a lack of interest in Medium specifically in the developer ecosystem. Like there's been a kind of pushback against that, and then to just, you know, I think we've seen less people interested in like I'm trying to think of the word, like publishing in a larger group thing. Syndicating, I guess, is probably the best word, into a larger thing when they can have their own platform, is one of the trends I've seen recently. So, you know, I would be open to that. I don't know, like, I definitely don't have the bandwidth to be able to both finish the process and then do the blog post and then also do the Trello board. I definitely don't have that bandwidth. So yeah, you know, if this is something we want to consider sunsetting as an initiative and then kind of reframing how we approach it, I think that's a reasonable thing to do. And that would, I think help. Like, I think that it would be valuable to. So I guess some context I have here is the team I'm in at Microsoft. We had a very, I helped do the start up the collection well before I joined Microsoft, but once I was at Microsoft, we had a very similar process for our Medium publication. And one of the things I started once I was within Microsoft was I helped start up the Azure Dev2 group. And one of the things that we've started doing there is trusting people to post content that's relevant in it rather than like having a process. And that has been incredibly successful in just like allowing people to do what they want. And like, you know, we reasonably trust that the people in this are going to post content that's not like code of conduct violating. And then, you know, obviously we will address it if it is, but that's probably not going to happen. And then to like just getting people, like allowing people to have a little bit more creative freedom. And it is definitely like limited to our group, like my org, but that's something I helped set up and get going, and it's been running for over a year. So maybe, you know, it might be worth moving this into a past initiative and then considering how we could implement something like that with like project members of, you know, if you're a collaborator, you know, we will give you access to this and just, you can blog about whatever you want and stuff like that. So.
I'm also not sure what was the main reason, like when we started this, what was the purpose? Maybe it's fulfilled now, maybe it's changed. So maybe we should go back and see what was the actual reason we started the Nodejs collection.
So I worked on this with Zibby Keaton when she was still at the foundation. It started in 2016, I think, at Nodejs Interactive in Austin. Our intent was to create a space where people from the community could get their blogs published, you know, we kind of amplify people from our ecosystem. So not necessarily the project, but from the ecosystem, who were, you know, writing cool things and wanted to have a platform for that. And we kind of wanted to help provide a platform that we could help amplify and make it a little bit more like direct and official, if that makes sense. And like at the time, Medium publications were relatively large. Like there was, you know, HackerOne, or not HackerOne, Hacker Noon, and then quite a few other Medium publications. And this was also to some extent something that we did with IOJS. So we did have an IOJS account that I believe people published to. The publications weren't a feature when IOJS happened, but it was kind of an extension of what we did with IOJS into a broader scope. And it was very much to help enable kind of giving our platform to the community and ecosystem, which I think, you know, a lot of the content at the time was on Medium, and it was being published into people's like personal account or whatever. And so it made sense to like, here's an additional layer of like amplification that we can provide you. Now that's not really the case. The trend I've seen has been personal blogs that is then being syndicated out to other sources. So like, you know, someone publishes, you know, if I were to publish a blog, I don't do this, but like a lot of people do, is like a bnb.im/blog, which is my domain, and then like have that automatically published to like dev2 or Medium. So that's generally the path I see, which is relatively antagonistic to what the original intent was. Not in a bad way, just like it doesn't really mesh well.
Yeah, also maybe, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, like, yeah, as the intent was to have a place for people to have more content about Node.js, but now if we see, we have a lot of other resources for people to go to and have, like on dev, and like there are a lot of, I would say, better maybe publications which have a lot of more content about Node.js, which people can reach out to, which was maybe not the case at the time we started.
Yeah,
So,
I think, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that could be one thing. So yeah, yes.
Yeah, and I think it was very much like a way to try to help hopefully centralize, because like one of the problems Node has had is that information is all over the place, and it's hard to like find like high quality information sometimes, because it's like an invisible layer under all of the stuff that people are doing. Like whether, you know, if you're building Express, you're not really writing stuff for Node, you're writing stuff for Express, or, you know, if you're building a CLI, you're writing stuff for the CLI framework, you're not writing something about Node. So it's harder to gain access to information, which is one of the reasons I was kind of interested in pushing in this direction. And like examples is also, I guess, another offshoot of that, like almost, you know, very similar intent in like, how do we give more access to information that is relevant to how Node is used. So yeah, yeah, I at this point I am unsure if it would if the intent, the original intent matches the current structure. And I do think that republishing from our blog is a totally valuable thing, especially maybe not release posts, because they're just like lists, but like, you know, some of the other posts around like security and stuff like that, although we'd have to update that, which would be a process. But yeah, some of the things could potentially be helpful.
Yeah, there's recent submission from I think release working group from Beth or someone about Node 14 and what like new features does it have, how do we improve and these things, which is a really nice post. I think it will be.
Yeah.
So
oh, sorry.
We had the support from the foundation, like ZB was there or maybe Rachel, and now it's not there as it was before, because now I think we handle the Node collection also as the project.
Yeah.
It seems like one of the bigger, sorry, Waleed, I keep cutting you off.
No, it's okay. Yeah, go on.
It seems like one of the big benefits or the goals was to be able to amplify good content from the community through like the filter of, I suppose, folks who are involved in the foundation and the Nodejs project. And there seems like there might be a possibility that it overlaps to a certain extent with the social media delegates initiative. Is this Is a merging a possibility?
I would say less of a merging and more of a replacement, if that makes sense. I think that like I don't think that Medium like I think management of the Medium thing and like approval of posts could be, but I think that is relatively outside of like the other. It's very different than the rest of the scope. I think that the social media team solves what that would, or to some extent solves what that the original intent was, if that makes sense. So it helps address that in a reasonable way. Yeah, I think the things are related in that they try to solve the same thing, and the social media team I think reflects the modern state of how you can approach that, if that makes sense. Like it helps solve the problem in 2020 rather than in 2016, I think. So yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
I just you're good. Yeah, so I think I would agree with that to some extent, and I do think that probably as we get a little bit further down the line with those, the social team, and then also like you know, once we, you know, it seems like we've kind of discussed moving on or like kind of altering our course with the Nodejs collection. I think that's, you know, if letting those things play out a bit and then figuring that out would probably be a good idea, just to like let them both settle and see where things land.
I'll just preserve some of that that comment in the notes, right?
Sorry, what was that? Something?
I'll just preserve that comment in the notes right now. But, we'll wait for social media to develop along with Nodejs Collection, and then at some point probably have discussions about how collaboration or overlap would happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Okay, so I'll open a issue in com and maybe we can discuss it further. Sorry, I missed what Manel said. Manel, did you said you'll open an issue?
No, I just I just mentioned that I would drop a note in the notes so that what Tierney has suggested would be preserved.
Okay, that's good. I'll open an issue in the com repo, and we can get maybe a vote from everyone or a review from everyone. How should we proceed about the scope of Nodejs collection for? Yeah.
Sounds good.
That'd be helpful. Thanks, Waleed.
Yeah, thank you. And also thank you for the work you put in on that issue or that PR over like at this point, maybe a year. I genuinely appreciate that.
Yeah, I tried, and then I just realized that it's not that like easy. And it would be hard for someone to move forward with this. So maybe it's not maybe worth investing more time.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And yeah, again, thank you for putting in work on this for quite a while. Genuinely appreciate it. Cool. Okay, any final thoughts, comments, feedback, issues, things on that specific issue? Cool. We can move on to Nodejs.dev, which is calendar invite not updating Zoom links. I'm not sure what this is. Let me go ahead and open this up.
Yeah, so I've been looking at this actually. It seems I don't see a Zoom link in the calendar invite. I'm not sure. Divvy's on the call. Are you referring to the meeting issue or the meeting calendar entry in the Node.js Google Calendar?
Hey Joe. Hey guys. So my issue was that there's the links to the meeting. So like it updates on GitHub issues, but let's say that, you know, someone who wants to join who has never done it before would have no way of knowing that, okay, this is in the GitHub issues, you have to go. So there's no links. And also I noticed, I just updated it right now while you guys were discussing the other issue, that for like the meeting invite today for in the Google Calendar, it shows 2 Zoom links, and I have actually posted a picture of it. And there one of it is correct, which is in gray, and then there's another one which is in blue, which looks like the link, and it doesn't work. So those kind of like small issues could be things that I feel that, you know, could help just if they were resolved and, you know, taken care of. I'm not sure how the system works in the back, but you know, that those kind of things I feel that would limit someone who's trying to, you know, come into the organization and wants to get started with open source and is interested. So that's just my thoughts. So I just created that issue and, you know, updated it as I.
Yeah, it's
So
a good
for what
point
it's
there.
worth,
Go ahead, Tony.
I fixed that now. Basically, the Zoom URL, the first one that's grayed out, is the one that's like the location, and the other one was in the description. Basically, it looks like, because the Zoom links that we have expire after a year, so we can only set the meetings up to run for like 1 year, and then we have to do it again. It's really annoying. Like you can't just have our perpetual Zoom. But
is that true?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've never
Yeah.
had to renew any of the ones that I chair.
Oh, maybe that's just me being dumb then. Or sorry,
Well,
me
no.
being like it's not working correctly.
I think it might be just like I set them as unscheduled.
Oh,
Like there's an option to just say it's at no particular time.
Oh, yeah.
In which
that
case,
makes
I think
sense.
it's good forever as opposed to having to schedule it. Maybe if you just switch it to be that way, it'll be. I mean, once a year isn't terrible, but never is even better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's great that you're able to do that one. Tierney, are you able to jump into the redesign one and drop in the link for that?
Yeah, what day is it? So
it was opposite this meeting, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
it was opposite this meeting last week.
So just how that works is it's the calendar at this point is not tied at all to the setup stuff. It's I'm doing this. I just also explain while I'm doing it, I'm explaining how it works. The calendar links or the calendar entries are not tied to the tooling at all. It's separate, so we have to maintain it separately. And basically what happens is, you know, we have to update them over time and stuff. And that one just never got the Zoom link added. So I have now updated it to include the correct Zoom link that was on the last issue. If you change them, we will have to change it again. But that's not a problem. And there is a list of people who have access to edit the calendar in the admin repo.
Oh, good.
To address what part of what Divi had mentioned, where people who find the calendar link, and it's been more frequent recently, maybe I have noticed people asking where in the calendar they should find this or which link to use. It might be helpful for us to start including a link, for example, to the issues of the relevant repo and explain that meetings are listed there as an issue. So that's what I do on my personal calendar is I don't actually use this one. I have a recurring event on my personal calendar that just takes me to the issues because I know then what to go and look for in the issues. But in this calendar description, we could explain to people how to find the meeting issue.
Yeah, I think a simple note in the description of the meeting that just says, you know, meeting agendas are posted as issues, and then a link to the issues for the repo would be great.
Yeah, and
I don't think you're going to get a
limit
link to the issues, but maybe a link to the issues section.
Yeah,
right?
you could get a link to the issue section with the label, or you could probably query it with the title structure.
Yeah, maybe.
So you could like at least get the most recent ones that are still open.
Yeah, that works.
But yeah, the there's a disconnect between the calendar and the tooling at this point, which I think some of the tooling that is being trying to be worked on in the package.js repo, the Meet GitHub action, will potentially try to solve this. But yeah, it's complicated. And also, like, not all groups, like, I don't think the TSC publishes their Zoom. I could be wrong.
It's
but like,
no, it's in the issue.
oh, okay.
There is a password to join the Zoom itself, though.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so like ComCom is a little bit more liberal with that, in that like we generally promote people in if it's like a name, like I generally promote people in if it's a name I've seen in the project. I try not to just promote names I just randomly see, just because of the Zoom bombing stuff and, like, you know, other people, like, I can't, there's no guarantee that if I don't recognize someone from participating in ComCon, they're not going to come in and violate the code of conduct and have that codified in a YouTube video forever. So yeah, but generally, like, different projects and different initiatives have different approaches to how they do that.
A standard format for the link in the calendar would be useful, though. Like the, you know, because everybody, I think different people create them. If somewhere it was like, here's what we typically put in them. Like you said, if it's like, can even be a search based on something that's going to find you the most recent meetings, that would actually be quite handy.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't thought of that. I was like, I can't put a link to the meeting because it changes every time. But if there was a way to get you there, that would be quite good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that this is definitely hopeful. But one of the like, if we can get the new Google SDKs to work, one of the things that we're, I think, going to try to solve in Meet is creating the meetings from that, so it's defined by the GitHub action, like the metadata in the repo, and then that basically every time it could either update or create the calendar entry with the GitHub issue. So
today it's driven the opposite way. It's the calendar entry is what is used to generate the meetings.
And just like the nature of how the actions run, it's like it works better if it's the other direction. But then that gets complicated because the Google SDKs now are very complicated to authenticate and get to work appropriately.
Yes, that I agree. Like I got it to work because I had some other stuff set up for another module I'd written, but doing it like replicating that's not easy. Yeah,
I have tried and failed. It's not ideal. But yeah, so theoretically, this is something that we can definitely improve right now. You know, potentially going through and just having a basic template for that, and then having the people who have access to it go through and edit it. Like there are I guess you'd only need to do 2 weeks of meetings, so like 20 meetings roughly that you would need to fill that out in is something that we could probably do.
Well, but they're recurring meetings, right? So we should be able to just update it in one place. And as long as the queries are all generic, like that's what I was thinking. If it was like, put in this query that will find any meeting.
Oh, I was thinking per repo. So like you just change the repo URL. So like, you know, github.com/nodejs/community committee, and then with the query string.
Sure. No, that would have to be different for each meeting, right? Okay. Maybe we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, I think we're talking about the same thing, just slightly different scopes.
You'd have to do it in 10 different meetings or 15 different meetings, but at least you'd know, paste this thing in, and okay, it's slightly different maybe, but
Cool. Anything else on that? I think that should be solved now. I've updated that specific thing. It should be recurring. Let me check.
Yeah, it's fixed for me.
Yeah, it fixed for me. I just checked my calendar and it's fixed.
Awesome. Also, we should. This also, I'm looking at this created by Adam. We should also maybe make sure, since Adam is no longer a ComCon member, that we have gone through and updated the list of people who have access to this. I will take that as well.
We do have like a yearly audit of that we should do.
Okay.
I can't remember if it's still in the calendar, but then it would take somebody seeing it. So it's worth doing one for sure.
I think it's in like September. I could be wrong.
Doing it now
But
is
yeah.
good too, though.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. I think with that, we can probably wrap things up.
I
Thanks
was
everyone
hoping we could just
go
go
ahead.
back. Sorry I was late. The one on the second director seat. I don't, maybe you've probably already covered this, but I just did want to point out the discussion that happened in the TSC side of things. This comment, the Node.js project is happy to continue to provide a direct representative. It has people who are willing to volunteer for the position. If the CPC Node director is no longer to have if the CPC direction is no longer to have the director seat assigned to the project would like to be consulted involved in the discussion. So that was kind of there wasn't a strong ask that it be maintained, but on the flip side, there was kind of like, we're happy with the current status quo. So CPC let us know if something's going to change.
So that was basically have Node keep the seat.
Well, that's where I'm trying to get the subtlety across. It wasn't like that was the ask. It was more like we're happy for it to continue that way.
So I
and we
guess
haven't heard anybody suggest anything else.
I guess my question there is like, if it were shoved up to the foundation, would that prevent Node from continuing to do it that way? Like, I think that would only increase the ability for, like, I mean, Node would still be able to, like, someone from the TSC could potentially still run for that, or multiple people from TSC and ComCom or whatever.
Yep.
And then that would also open the ability for others to have it.
Right.
Which I think is, I think that's relatively reasonable, to like kind of, since we're in a place where we're questioning it, begin to open that up in a way that like Node will still be able to carry that torch if we want to. Or like if there's no reason, if there's no, I don't want to say competition, but that's the closest word I have. If there's no like, contest, I guess. But I do think it is probably positive to begin to open that up a bit more. If the TSC is open to that, I think from our discussion, because we did discuss this a bit at length.
Yeah.
It does seem like at least ComCom is relatively okay with it not being Node. I don't want to represent everyone, but yeah,
I think we should just have like 20 or 30 people from Node, run.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it'd be good to put that comment specifically in, because coming out of the TSC direction, there was no, there wasn't the agreement to say we're just happy for it not to be.
Yeah.
But there was no strong we want it to be either.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, I think that the tack the TSC took was like, there's work, it takes work. So we're still happy to do the work, and we have somebody who's willing to do the work. And we haven't heard anybody suggest anything else. So we're happy for it to continue. But if you want to do something else, just make sure we're involved in the discussion.
Yeah.
So, but I said, okay, now we got to get the ComCom's view. So if it's kind of like the ComCom is like, well, we think it would be better to have it move up to the OpenJS Foundation and have the election at that side of things. We just need to get the agreement so that the Node, I guess we can either, the approach the TSC I think was trying to take was like, CPC, tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if the ComCom is like, hey, no, we really think it should be moved up, we should have that discussion, because if that's then maybe the TSC will say, yeah, okay, we agree or don't, right?
I think it was equally as passive.
Okay.
We weren't like, yeah, we need to move it up. It was more of a, yeah, I mean, it would be nice to just like, I guess be a good citizen of the foundation, I guess is my take. This is definitely not what anyone said, but this is kind of my perception of it. Is like, it'd be nice to be a good citizen of the foundation. And like, I doubt we're going to stop doing the work. Like I think Node, I have zero doubts that Node will run for that. And so it's more of like, cool, Node runs and we get it, awesome. If other people run, that's also great, because then there's, you know, more representation and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that was more of it, is like equally passive, just slightly leaning the other direction.
Yeah, nobody seems to want to, like, nobody has a super strong like opinion, right? So it's like, how do we, somehow we need to get the, what's the proposal for next year, and then people can comment on that, I think, right?
If I may interject, and I'm sorry if I'm interrupting at all, but
No.
the one thing that I'm reminded of that it does pose a slight you know, wrinkle in this is that I believe the board rep, oh, you know what? No, if this were a community seat, maybe I'm mistaken here. I'm thinking about the CPC rep, which needs to be elected from a voting member.
I think that the governance does say it needs to be a voting member as well.
Even the community seat?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, if so, that's unfortunate.
I mean, I've had the thought of, is that still what we want? That's what the governance says today. And, you know, that's one of the reasons that we're having the voting members from the regular members. The only reason I really, you know, put my hat in to become a voting member, because, you know, I've been acting as a regular member, which is fine, was so that I could offer to run as for the board seat.
Yeah.
So but I've had the thought is like, do we want that, you know, based on how things have gone, does that still make sense as a requirement or not? Because that'd be another way to address that issue.
Yeah, I think that we should definitely look at that as a part of this issue.
So I guess, Tierney, it's like, you know, if you can comment in there, like it comes down to, we could just say no strong feelings, ComCom, what do you think? And then have that drive the conversation. Or we could, you know, go with the, well, ComCom was leaning this way. Should we discuss that with the TSC and see if they say, yeah, okay, well, let's lean that way.
Yeah, I can drop a comment in the issue. I mean, I think we're similar to the TSC. You know, there's great benefit from it being a node person, but we have no, I think, objection to it elevating. But as Tierney mentions, and I know he can't talk right now because of troubles with his headphones, we are at time, so we should call it a wrap. Oh, was that Tierney? No? Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll just say, you know, thanks everyone for joining. Look forward to talking more on the issues and seeing everybody in a couple of weeks, and we'll continue on. Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you. Talk to everybody later.
Yep. Bye.